Welcome, and thank you to the latest installment of the KCEMS Provider Update. Thank you for sharing your time with us for this training opportunity. We appreciate the challenges of finding time to do one more thing, and we're going to do our best to make these next several minutes worth your time. Today, we're coming to you with a project that has literally been over 3 years in the making, and some say it's been needed for well over 30. In fact, when I was talking to another provider in our system with almost 40 years experience, the comment was made that this is something that we've been struggling with in our system since the very beginning. What is it, you ask? Well, let's play a quick game. What is something that we do almost every single time with our patients, but we don't practice very often? What takes time, but not too much time, but in the end, it actually takes more time than we think because we keep going over and over and over and over it again and again and again and again and again. Any ideas? Well, let's see if this is what you thought we were talking about. Here's a staged video that is part of an EMS call that you might have experienced in your career.
Jen.
Everybody.
Yeah, is that the second or the third shot?
I don't know. 1 second, I
Hey,
think.
let's go ahead. This is Jason. He's like 38, 39, something like
What round
that.
are you at?
He went unresponsive while he was working out, and somebody started CPR on him. So we got here, we took over CPR for him too. We've, I think, given 2, maybe 3 shots.
Okay.
Is that a night elevate?
Yeah, it's, I think it's number 3 or number 4.
Oh, right.
And so we've been just doing BDM and chest compressions. Like I said, we got a couple of shocks too.
Okay.
4.
Yeah.
How long does it take for now?
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Jen.
Okay, did anybody figure out that we were talking about the patient turnover report? Before we go any further, thank you to the providers who worked really hard to make that scene look like it did. After the 3 takes it took, everyone felt really icky because that's not the normal way things go. However, I think we've all been in a situation either being the one giving the report or the one receiving the report. So as hard as it was to create when you're trying to create it, it happens on a regular basis. So I'm going to go out on a limb and wonder, has anyone else had the same feelings that were depicted in the video? Have you ever wondered if anyone was listening to me? Do you ever wonder if anybody's heard me? Have you ever wondered if anybody even cares what I'm saying? I'm not sure about you, but I've had that feeling so many times over my career as a provider that it's kind of a surprise to me some days when somebody actually listens to me. Which leads us to a very interesting tidbit that we found as we were developing this project. When we spoke to medical first responders, EMT, the advanced EMTs that I could find, paramedics, and nurses in our system, they all said the same thing. Any ideas what that was? Well, I think everybody knows. It didn't matter what their role was or who they worked for and how many years of experience that they had. Almost all said whatever they said made little difference in how the provider that they were turning their patient over to was going to treat their patient, or, more frustrating, what questions they were going to ask again and again and again and again. However, what was more embarrassing is that I've done this. Unfortunately, way more than I've had the pleasure of it happening to me. Though it was never intentional, at some point we need to take credit for our actions and try to do better. That's what this project is all about, doing better. Now, I could take all of your time up watching this video and listening to me discuss the multiple published studies that have been done on the subject, or we can just jump into the deep end. So let's just jump into the deep end. And for those who like to be in the weeds a little, we will make sure that we add all of the information on the published studies into the notes. So this project has been affectionately labeled the DMIST project. But at the end of the day, it is simply a patient turnover report. The whole purpose of this is to simply give us a framework. We know that not every call, not every patient, not every situation is going to fit nicely into a box. In fact, when things do fit nicely in a box, don't we get a little worried because things are never that simple? What you are looking on the screen right now is the DMIST patient handoff model. As you can see, it is broken up into 5 parts: demographics, mechanism or chief complaint, injury or illness, signs and symptoms, and finally, treatments. These are all things that we've been including or should have been including in all of our patient handoff reports since we were way back in school. Has anyone like me forgotten some of this information on a couple of reports here and there? Is it important? Well, if you feel like nobody's listening, then it's a pretty easy question to answer, isn't it? They weren't listening anyway, so they'll figure it out. Not a great team approach, is it? But it's something that many of us have conditioned our minds to think that it's okay. We know that's not the right answer, and if it was us, our family, or any of our patients on the other side, we wouldn't want it done to us. Is it up to the person to give the report better? Is it up to the person receiving the report to be more attentive? At the end of the day, we know that it's important and that we all need to do a better job. This is where the providers in our system can make a small change, which may feel a little uncomfortable at first, but this will have a lasting impact, and even better, we already have experience in doing this for some of our patients. Any ideas which ones? You're right, the trauma patient. When the transport crew walks into the trauma bay with the high priority patient, what happens? Everyone goes silent, and the lead provider gets 60 seconds to give the report. It's affectionately known as the trauma timeout. During that time, life-saving care continues, like CPR or ventilations, but otherwise everyone is attentive to the patient. Then once the report is over and questions are answered, everybody in a coordinated dance moves the patient and works to continue the work that was done by all the providers, from the scene all the way through the transport and to the trauma bay. And surprising to some, the patient actually does better with this intentional pause than they did before we did it. Imagine that. Taking time, being patient, being attentive, understanding what needs to be done, and then doing it. Doing it as rapidly as we've been trained to do with high levels of skill, compassion, and efficiency. So let's take a couple of minutes and actually look to see what this really looks like. In this first scenario, we are going to look at just a low acuity patient. What better way to start this off and practice on the patients that we see on a regular basis? As you're watching the scene, take a moment to notice that we are working through the DMIST framework. But then also know that we've incorporated a lot of the trauma timeout concepts into this everyday regular report. The individual who is the lead provider on scene prior to the transport crew arriving is going to step away from the patient and find an area where they can just have a conversation with the incoming crew, preferably somewhere that everyone can focus on the report. Then, when all the questions are answered, everyone will step back to the patient and continue on the call. Again, ideally in less than 60 seconds. What we have found out as we've tested this over a long period of time is that this actually helps everyone to be on the same page. There is less questioning, less repetitiveness, and more team-focused care.
Go ahead with the albuterol nebulizer. Perfect. All right, gonna do a cross check real quick. We got albuterol here, 2.5 milligrams per 3 milliliters. Got an expiration date of 7/31/2023. Patient here with a history of asthma, wheezing throughout.
Okay, I concur. Go ahead and give it.
All right. All right, Jason, I'm gonna have you hold on to this, okay? And take some deep breaths, just like your emergency inhaler you have.
Paramedics.
Hi, Matt. Hi, this is Jason. Jason was working out in the gym today, became short of breath with sudden onset. It's been about 15 minutes now. History of asthma is the only part of medical history. No meds, no allergies. I take it back. Does use a emergency albuterol inhaler as his only medication. No allergies. Vitals 110 in regular for a pulse, 136 over 100. Initial SpO2 was 88% with a respiratory rate of 26. Went ahead and gave a albuterol inhaler. He has improved. The wheezing has diminished considerably. And here's your patient.
All right, thanks, Brian. Hey, Jason, how are you feeling?
Good rate, good depth on the compressions. You getting good compliance still in the bag?
Yes, sir.
20.
Paramedics.
Hey, Mac. This is Jason, a 47-year-old male. He was working out at the gym today, became short of breath, started complaining of chest pain. Bystanders say that he went unresponsive, fell to the floor. CPR was started immediately. We've got an AED on him. We've delivered 2 shocks so far. We've got a number 3 iGel in with good compliance on the bag, good lung sounds, and positive
30.
tidal.
Give Chou breath.
This is our now 6th round of compressions, and our total downtime as of right now is 7.5 minutes.
Okay. Do we know anything about his medical history?
We weren't able to find any medical history, but I do have his ID that was in his wallet.
Okay, thank you.
20.
Patients here.
Alright, so we have a 35-year-old male here, pedestrian struck. He was stepping into his vehicle parked on the side of the road. A moving vehicle came by, struck the patient and his door, crushed his right leg in between the door. And there's a large avulsion here with significant bleeding. Fire department placed a tourniquet prior to our arrival. And then we also have a laceration on the left side of the forehead here. Repetitive questioning, no recollection of the event. No other obvious injuries noted. Last blood pressure was 150 over 90. And heart rate's been 110. SpO2 is normal on room air. We do have a 18 gauge IV in the left AC here. No medications given though.
What time was that tourniquet placed?
11 a.m. Okay, patients here. Alright, so we have a 35-year-old male here, pedestrian struck by a moving vehicle. He was stepping into his car parked on the side of the road. Someone driving by struck him.
Well, what did you think? Was it completely different than your patient care reports that you've been doing now? Probably not. But let me ask you a different question. Does everyone you know do it the exact same way and have the same level of success as you do? What we found in our system is that is not the case. There is a lot of variation. We work with a lot of different people, a lot of different agencies, a lot of different situations, and in a lot of different locations. And because all of those variables, it makes it really hard, almost impossible for us to receive consistent messages 100% of the time. And I want to take a moment to be very clear. This will also not get us to 100%. However, what we've found is that we get a long way down the road. We did a lot of testing. We talked to a lot of providers. We had a lot of feedback. And the providers that have participated in this project have actually said that they felt like they did a better job using the DMIST format than they were when they were using their own process. And at the end of the day, isn't that what it's all really about? Doing the best job that we can. We know that our providers are passionate, dedicated, and they're committed to doing their best on every call. This is just one more tool in your toolbox. Well, that's the DMIST project, finding ways to help you do the things that you need to do without creating more challenges than you already have to overcome. We hope that you'll agree, and even though this wasn't earth-shattering information, we will be able to agree that by making small changes, we can have a big impact. We know our providers will take this knowledge and use it on the very next call to show the other EMS systems how much they can knock it out of the park. The other systems already know how much we care about our patients, but now we're going to show them that our system is much more than that. We're going to demonstrate to everyone that we are one team focused on one goal, that we are all going to continue to make this system the one that everyone wants to be a part of. Thank you for that, and thank you for all of your hard work. I look forward to continuing our conversations.